Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Teresa. This is Lost My Thread and we are doing another Clash of the Patterns series. Today we are starting the Sweatpants Showdown. If you haven't seen any of my Clash of the Patterns videos before, the idea is that I make and review different sewing patterns for the same type of garment and tell you which one I like the best. I have done this a few times before and I'll put some links down below if you're curious to check out the previous ones. I have done fitted button-up shirts that were designed with different bust cup sizes. I have done overalls / dungarees, and I have done a semi-fitted t-shirt dual as well. So like I said, links in the description box if you want to check out the previous ones. But today we are doing the Sweatpants Showdown, where I'm going to be comparing two different popular sweatpants to see which I like the best. So today's video, the first video of the series, is always the intro where I tell you a bit about the different patterns that I've chosen and why, and show you the fabrics that I'm going to be using as well. I feel like this one has been something that I've been wanting to make for a while, and I don't really know what took me so long to actually do a proper clash of the patterns. Now, full disclosure, one of these patterns I have made up before. I've made multiple pairs of these sweatpants and I have worn them and I have loved them. And those are from the Tilly and the Buttons stretch book. So this is a very popular sewing book, lots of great patterns in here, but I'm specifically referring to the Stella joggers. So hopefully you can get a bit of an idea of what they look like. I will obviously put up some line drawings and show you a little bit more detail, but those are the Stella joggers from Tilly and the Buttons. Like I said, I've made them, I've loved them, but there have been a few things in them that I don't love when I've made them, and I've debated whether that was the right sweatpants pattern for me or whether it was branching out and trying another popular sweatpants pattern, which is the Hudson Pants by True Bias. So this is, again, it's another very popular sewing pattern. I feel like everyone's made Hudson pants. They look very similar on the sort of basic view between the two. And so I thought, am I really gonna buy another sewing pattern, make a different sweatpants pattern when I have one that works and it's basically okay, but it's not perfect, and maybe I could do better. And I feel like I can't be the only person out there in the world, in the sewing world, wondering what actually is the difference between these two sweatpants. So I'm going to get into all of that today, tell you a bit about the overall design differences, but we'll see the finished product in videos to come. So if we take a glance at the line drawings of these two, they are basically a very similar style of sweatpant. They're both meant to be low-rise, they're both tapered leg, they both are designed for someone who's 5'5" with a 28-inch inseam. So on the whole, there's a lot that's similar. They both got these front slash pockets. One of the differences, just straight away to mention, is that the Hudson pants have a binding over the pocket there, which I think is a nice detail, particularly if you're going to use maybe a contrast. You get a little bit of an option for a bit of color blocking or a little bit of a pop of color. I do wonder how those will come together construction-wise. It will feel different, or if it will look different as a result. The other key difference is that the waistband between the two, it's a flat, thick waistband, but for the Hudson pants, there are a couple of rows of top stitching going around the top there. I will say that is one of the issues that I already have noticed with my Stella joggers. The elastic rolls drives me a little bit crazy. So that was one of the things that intrigued me about these. But I will say otherwise they look pretty similar, but when you look at the two patterns together, that's where you're going to see the differences between the two. So I actually have my pattern pieces traced out, and I want to show you what the differences are between the shape of the crotch curve, the length of the rise, to give you a little bit more of an idea of what these differences are. So I have traced out my size in both of these patterns. These are the Hudson Pants by True Bias in the blue, and I have the Stella joggers from the Tilly and the Buttons stretch book in pink. It is worth mentioning they have a different seam allowance. So the Hudson pants have a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, whereas the Stella joggers have a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So in addition to marking the cutting line on the Stella joggers, I also put a dotted line 1/4 of an inch in, which is going to be essentially what would be a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, which is a more like comparison to the Hudson pants. So the blue line underneath here is the Hudson pants compared to the Stella joggers. So I would say that the Stella jogger seems to be a bit more straight, a bit less scooped out in this front crotch curve. And if we're looking up at the top, the Hudson pants definitely are a bit lower sitting there, even though theoretically they're both low rise. You're getting a bit of a longer distance for the front crotch curve for the Stella joggers as compared to the Hudson pants. If we look at the pockets as well, it looks like the Hudson pants has a bit of a deeper pocket. I'm going to line these up just to imagine that they're starting at the same point, but as you can see, hopefully, this is my Stella joggers pocket. This is the Hudson pants pocket. So it's definitely a deeper opening for the pocket, and it's curved as compared to the straight edge of the Stella joggers. It'd be interesting to see how those compare when they're on the body, and I wonder if this curve might suit the curve of the front of the thigh a bit. It might sit a little bit flatter than this straight one from the Stella joggers. These are the back leg pieces, and I think it's definitely interesting to compare. I think they are pretty different. I think the most interesting and significant difference between the two is the shape of the crotch curve here. So we've got the Hudson pants that have quite a big scooped out section for the bum, whereas the Stella joggers, it's a little bit more of a straighter line. It's not straight, there is a curve to it, but it's just not as significant of a curve. I am someone who frequently on trousers needs to scoop out a little bit more of a crotch curve. I feel like just to fit my own body shape, that is more likely to be the kind of shape that I'm going to go for. So that's interesting to notice that that's already on the Hudson pants. And then as they go up, the Hudson pants, they have that scoop of the crotch curve, and then they are pretty straight going up to the waistband. Whereas the Stella joggers, it's more of just an incremental moving inward till you get up to the top of the waistband there. If we look then further over on the side, if you just look at the shapes, the Hudson pants are pretty straight down on the hip going down into the leg, whereas the Stella joggers, they start a little bit more tight at the top and then they fan out a bit. So there's a little bit more of a curve in that hip area before they start tapering down the leg. I mentioned that both of these are designed to be low rise, which is not really a style that I'm wanting in my sweatpants these days. A lot of tops and sweatshirts and things are more cropped, and I would feel more comfortable with a higher rise sweatpants. So I am planning to increase the rise on both of these. True Bias actually has a really great tutorial on their website about how to make high-rise Hudson pants, and I am going to put a link down below if you want to check it out. It is really, really detailed and really easy to follow, and I'm planning to use this process for both of these sweatpants to make sure that they are a higher rise to suit my style better. So think about that if you were maybe thinking these aren't going to be for you because they're too low rise. It's not that hard to change them to both high rise, and so I'm going to be doing, again, same changes for both, so it's going to be a pretty equal comparison of the outcome between the two. Something that I think is really important to consider when you're looking at what is the overall better pattern is thinking about the cost of these patterns, how inclusive their size range are, how easy it is to access and get these sewing patterns, and they are pretty different. So I want to talk through what the differences are. Now, I did mention that the Stella joggers comes from a book, the Tilly and the Buttons stretch book. So you need to buy a whole book to be able to get this pattern, and depending on how easy that is for you to access, that may or may not work for you. I will say that this book in general is an older book, so you might be able to get it used on eBay, you might even be able to get it new, but it's been sitting around in a warehouse for a while. I did have a little browse around, and I was able to get this book online on Amazon. Not everyone's favorite place, but I'm just being realistic on where I could get it relatively inexpensively. I could get this book on Amazon for £17, and I could get it on eBay for somewhere between £10 and £15. So it's worth bearing that in mind. As compared to the Hudson pants by True Bias, I have got the paper pattern, and I got the paper pattern for £16. So less than the price of this book, but only by £1. So not a huge difference. You can also buy just the PDF of the Hudson pants, and when I looked, you could get them for $16 on the True Bias website, which equates to around £12. So I'm gonna put up some images about the prices between like US dollars and British pounds, but just to get an idea of the price difference, the Hudson pants are definitely more expensive on the whole for a single pattern, whereas the stretch book, you're getting quite a lot more for it. It's definitely going to be better value for money because in addition to the Hudson, or in addition to the Stella joggers, you are getting a whole range of additional sewing patterns in there. But the Tilly and the Button stretch book is not going to be for everyone because the size range is pretty minuscule. The maximum hip size for the Stella joggers from this book is a 47-inch hip, as compared to the Hudson pants, which goes all the way up to a 59.5-inch hip. So it's much more inclusive, this pattern. The other thing that is worth mentioning is, in addition to these Hudson pants that I've bought, you can also buy men's Hudson pants and you can buy children's Hudson pants. Now you do have to buy them each individually and they all have that same cost. So I'm not saying that it's necessarily you get all those patterns in one, but you are going to have more options if you're thinking about the Hudson pants. And in particular, if you are on the larger size range that is not in the Tilly and the Button size range, you actually have an option of making these in your size. Now I want to show you the fabrics that I've chosen for these, and I have chosen for 2 different colorways of the same kind of fabric to make it as similar of a comparison as possible. The first one you're probably going to be able to recognize. It's what I'm wearing! I feel like I should do some kind of reel where I drop this and it appears to be my toaster sweater that I'm wearing, but I'm not going to do that. But this fabric, this is a really beautiful burgundy fabric. It's called Cozy colors, this kind of fabric. As you can hopefully see, there's lots of beautiful different flecks of color going through this fabric. And the back, it's a really snuggly, soft fleece back. I would say this is more of a medium weight fleece back. It's not very thick and heavy, which is perfect for me in the UK because it's generally not all that cold in general. I chose this to make a pair of jogging bottoms out of because I do have this lovely toaster sweater too by Soho 7. When I make my sweatpants and I've got my sweatshirt, I have an instant loungewear set. So I'm very excited to be able to make some pants to go with this, and I've got a whole look going for me. But I wanted to choose a different cozy colorway so that I could make a full loungewear set, but particularly making a pair of these sweatpants, of course, which is the whole point. And the color I've got, it is called Carnation. It is such a beautiful pink color. I would think carnation pink to me is a bit paler, is more pastel-y, but I really do love this color. It's almost a bit salmon-y, this pink. It's really gorgeous. Again, you've got those lovely flecks of color going through it like you always get with the cozy colors. Same beautiful soft fleece back lining on the inside. And I know that both of these are going to make great sweatpants, so I'm really excited. I haven't decided which pattern I'm making for which yet. I mean, it's the same fabric, so it doesn't really make a huge difference. But I will be making, like I said, a matching sweatshirt to go with these sweatpants as well in the end. But I do think these will be a great match, and I'm excited to have them in my life. So from a very quick glance, I have to say I do like the look of the Hudson pants. The shape of the crotch curve, the waistband detail, I feel like that's going to work better for me, but I'm definitely keeping an open mind. You just cannot tell until these things are on your body, and things can go pretty differently from how you're expecting. The next video in this series, I will be talking you through what these are actually like to sew up. So what the instructions like, the construction technique, which one I like better between the two. And then the final video of the series, I will be showing you what the fit is like, how they look on my body, and picking a winner in the end. I really hope you enjoy getting into the nitty-gritty details of these patterns. It is something that I always really enjoy doing. If you have made one or even both of these patterns, let me know down below what you liked and didn't like, which one was your favorite. It's really fun to hear from you guys out there if you've had similar conundrums, similar experiences in making these patterns up. If you enjoyed my video today, please do give me a like. Think about hitting that subscribe button if you want to make sure that you see this series through. I hope to see all of you again very, very soon. Bye!